In the past, great minds, from astronomers gathering data about stars to economists analyzing trade, sought patterns to understand the world. Today, data analysis and decision-making are powered by machine learning algorithms. Machine learning engineers develop and implement these algorithms, and they are in high demand across business, medicine, retail, and many other fields, earning an average salary of 190,000 rubles per month. Almost all videos about the Mongol Empire, including ours, leave unresolved or overlook the main question: how did the Mongols conquer half the world? Common images arise in our minds: vast Mongol armies crushing isolated defenders. European historians even coined the term horde to emphasize the seemingly endless waves of Mongol warriors. Some recall the Mongols' brilliant archers and cavalry, or mention their revolutionary postal and logistics system. But consider this: Mongolia was far from densely populated. Both Gumilyov and Western sources estimate the population of the Mongolian steppe around 1206, when Genghis Khan rose to power, at no more than 5 million people. In contrast, the Qin Empire at the same time had 50 million people and was among the first victims of Genghis Khan. The southern Song Empire, which the Mongols also defeated, had a similar population. Something doesn't add up mathematically, right? In the next few minutes, we will discuss the ultimate answer to the Mongol question. Is it true they won because of numerical superiority? Is it true that they annihilated their defeated enemies down to the last atom, along with their cultures and customs? And finally, is it true that the Mongols were a historical accident rather than a natural phenomenon? We will speak mainly in numbers, so the conclusions will be strictly factual. Let's start by estimating the forces involved in key battles of the Mongol conquests. The first battle between the Mongols and the Chinese took place at the Yekhan Ridge in spring 1211, after which the Great Wall of China fell. Genghis Khan commanded about 80,000 troops, taking the upper estimates. The opposing Qin general commanded about 130,000, possibly more. Here, the Chinese clearly had numerical superiority. At the Battle of Liankang in 1226, another campaign against the Chinese state of Xixia, Genghis Khan was ill but still commanded 81,000 men. Their opponents fielded 80,000 to 100,000 soldiers. This was China, where populations were always large, changing theaters to the decisive battle against the Khwarezmian Empire in 1221 at the Inn River. Estimates say 50,000 to 80,000 Mongols faced 30,000 to 50,000 troops of the last Khwarezm Shah, Jalal ad-Din. Earlier sieges of Samarkand and Otrar saw Mongol forces of around 50,000 defeating comparable or smaller garrisons. In Europe, at the Battle of the Sajo River in 1241, about 34,000 Mongol warriors under Batu faced 50,000 to 60,000 Hungarian soldiers under King Bela IV. That same year, 30,000 Mongol troops fought a coalition of 40,000 Europeans at Legnica. The Battle of the Kalka River saw 45,000 to 100,000 Slavic warriors fight against 20,000 to 30,000 Mongols. Although the Mongols sometimes had fewer troops, in sieges of cities like Kiev, Vladimir, Baghdad, and others, Mongols did have numerical superiority. But who in their right mind attacks a city without numerical advantage? Only geniuses can pull that off. The clear conclusion: Mongols did not win solely due to sheer numbers. The myth of an endless horde of Mongols throwing themselves at enemies was invented later, mainly in countries that lost, and only recently has it been debunked. Sometimes Mongols had more troops, sometimes fewer, but in key battles, forces were usually evenly matched. How did the Mongols manage to win so consistently? Let's review some battles. At Yekhan Ridge, the defenders had the advantage of a narrow mountain pass and numerical superiority, yet lost. Genghis Khan invested heavily in reconnaissance, identified pockets of resistance, and outflanked most positions with attacks from unexpected directions. The Mongols also used a classic feigned retreat tactic. Soldiers would cry out, drop weapons dramatically, and flee, luring defenders out of their positions into traps. This tactic was known long before the Mongols, famously used by the Parthians against Rome, but it worked repeatedly. At the Battle of the Sajo River, the Mongols again used feigned retreats followed by encirclement. They exploited the disorganization of the diverse European forces, dividing and defeating them in detail. They also captured key control points, like the bridge over the Sadjo, which allowed them to shoot flaming arrows into the Hungarian camp. Soldiers fight battles, but intelligence wins wars. At the Ind River, the Mongols divided their army into 3 pincers, and despite a failed trap involving a feigned retreat, their reconnaissance found vulnerabilities. Mongol warriors climbed cliffs to attack from the rear. The Mongols fought cleverly, with tactical ingenuity, and armed themselves with knowledge, including siege technologies like artillery and towers borrowed from China. They gathered the best of military science across Asia, like a hedgehog rolling across the steppe, sometimes incorporating defeated enemies and even their technology. Regarding the total destruction of defeated peoples, tragic stories of Khwarezm, Baghdad, and Kiev often dominate the narrative. For example, political scientist Paul Roos often quotes, "All talk of Mongol tolerance means nothing to millions of men, women, and children they killed." This is indisputable, but experts like Roos often forget that 2 years before Genghis Khan's coronation in 1204, Crusaders captured Constantinople, slaughtering tens of thousands and burning entire quarters. A century earlier, Crusaders massacred 50,000 people in Jerusalem and in 1147 sacked Lisbon, killing tens of thousands. The modern emotional response to Mongol atrocities is understandable, but in historical context, Mongol behavior was not exceptional. Every people should be judged by the standards of their own era. Viewed in this light, the Mongols were ordinary representatives of the late Middle Ages. Talking about Kiev, Samarkand, and Baghdad often omits cities like Hangzhou, Tabriz, and Sarai. Hangzhou was captured by Kublai Khan in 1276 and surrendered voluntarily, preserving its role as a cultural and economic center. Its population grew to 1 million, and Marco Polo called it the most developed and beautiful city on earth. Tabriz, captured by Hulagu in 1258, also surrendered without a fight and became one of the Mongol capitals in Persia, as well as a scientific center. Hulagu funded the construction of the Maragay Observatory in 1259 and spared scientists captured elsewhere, employing them there. He also financed a library holding 400,000 manuscripts. After the Mongol conquest, Tabriz's population continued to grow. Sarai was a city built from scratch by the Mongols on the Volga. Marco Polo's father visited it and described it as a great trade center with baths, palaces, and markets. At one point, Sarai was the largest city in Eastern Europe, with about 200,000 inhabitants. Even destroyed cities were sometimes rebuilt. For instance, Bukhara resisted fiercely and was destroyed, but later rebuilt. Marco Polo also visited Bukhara, calling it a city of great glory. Though uprisings against the Mongols continued, the reason Bukhara avoided total destruction is simple and reveals the logic of the Mongol Empire and its successors. The Mongols loved trade. The Great Silk Road was sacrosanct. Entire cities were built or rebuilt to maintain it despite constant revolts. Karakoram, Bukhara, Sarai, and dozens of other cities served the Mongols' main goals: trade, profit, and resource acquisition.